origins of the legend Atlantis. We will be listening to a very prominent resource person regarding the subject. His name is Mr. Frank Joseph Hoff from Seattle, USA, and soon he will be giving us a clear presentation, elaboration on this body of knowledge, on this theory, and so on. But before that, let me, in welcoming all of you, also acknowledge the presence of some dear friends. Let me mention the name Pak Budi Priyanto and Ahmad Syafawi, who are directors from Aruna Book Publication, sitting at the back, if I'm not mistaken. And we also are honored with the presence of Ibu Raida Ismunandar from the Ministry of Culture, and Pak Bob Effendi, who is also very knowledgeable on the subject. And of course, I welcome all the members of Forward Parekraf. The chairperson is Tiara at the back, and then Mas Fatu sebagai sekjen, banyak lagi. Ibu Hilda at the front, she's one of the founders. So, we have quite an esteemed group here, combining journalists and people with academic background and also publishing. Hopefully, we can all share in the knowledge that will be provided by Pak Frank regarding Atlantis. Let me read a few words regarding this topic. History enthusiasts and seekers of ancient mysteries, welcome to the long-awaited book discussion of Atlantis, the lost continent finally found, by the late Professor Arcio Santos, a monumental work that has opened new horizons in our understanding of ancient civilizations. To officially open this enlightening event, let us welcome a truly dedicated figure in preserving and sharing Professor Santos's intellectual legacy. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Frank Joseph Hoff, President of Atlantis Publications. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tito, and a great introduction. And welcome everybody that's come to attend our event here in Indonesia, in Jakarta. And I want to also make recognition to Ms. Rini, who helped set things up, Mr. Santo, my literary agent, as well as Aruna Books, and of course, behind that, Rain Books. So, the information I'm going to provide here is Professor Santos' gift to the world. His full name is Professor Arcio Nunes dos Santos. He was a Brazilian professor of nuclear physics, nuclear engineering, geology, physical chemist. He wrote some of his first scientific articles to the climatology, to the scientific community. He also took on the disciplines of archaeology, anthropology, and of course geology to do the work properly, because many researchers in the past do not have the necessary disciplines to do the work properly. He also spoke 14 languages, including the language he found out, which is the language of the Atlanteans, which I'll go over as well. Some may be wondering, about his background, but he was a professional scientist who was trained in the scientific method and in epidemiology, which is a philosophical science concerned with framing of theories and their scientific analysis. Next slide there. This is Professor Santos himself. out that the case is, if you're looking for Atlantis, you may be looking for Atlantis in the wrong haystack or haystacks, and if you do, you'll never find it. And that's what Professor Census figured out. He reverse engineered it back to its true original real location. And that location is, next slide please, is in Indonesia and area of Southeast Asia. But what happened is, and why we couldn't find it, or any researchers, I'm going to correct that a little bit. We actually did find it, but they haven't been able to find it in the past, is because the names of the oceans got changed over time. There used to be the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, as it's called today, were called the oceans of the Atlanteans, along with the Indian Ocean, which also got changed over to the Erythraean Sea before it got changed over to the Indian Ocean. But the scientific name for the going from one ocean to the other, all being connected, is called coterminous. And this is what he found out, is that this is the case. Vasco Balboa, explorer, actually found the Pacific Ocean, but he didn't name it. The person who named it is Ferdinand Magellan, because he saw through the Straits of Magellan and through Argentina and Chile, and he called it Pacific from the infinitive verb, or Portuguese or Spanish called Pacificar. And depending how you use it in a sentence, either Pacifica or Pacifico. And we dropped the O or the A, and that's why we call it Pacific Ocean today. So what we also found out is that, and you can do the next slide, please. And this just shows the Erythraean Sea was named at that time. See, his name gets changed over just, a few hundred thousand or 1,000 years, let alone 11,600 years or 10,000 years. But what we found out is that, the next slide, please, is that the word actually, Atlantis, is coded in 3 different languages: Ancient Greek, Sanskrit, and Dravida. And what it means is that Atlantis is located on the opposite side of the world. It means antipodum, which means on the opposite side or opposite foot soles from where you're at. And so it shows that it's located on the opposite side of the world in the sunken mountain marshland, and that's the area of Indonesia. And by the way, next slide please. Oh, I'll tell you what, back up one slide. Back up. Back up one more. The size of this location is the size of the whole entire continental United States, with Alaska and Hawaii combined. That's the area we're talking about for Atlantis at the time. That's what this chart shows. You can do the next slide. And this is what we see today is everything that's in brown pretty much is above the water, composing 17,504 islands. here. And the reason that tsunami came in is because the Krakatoa volcano goes off. Originally, a long time ago, the Toba volcano went off, and they had to flee out of the area and rebuilt to the advanced civilization, Atlantis proper. But they rebuilt over a period of 60,000 years. You can imagine how advanced they must have been at that point. And before the Krakatoa volcano, because the Toba went off about 75,000. And they moved into the other areas like India, into Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, and some areas they could go into, because not all local area residents will welcome them. And so, and also Chennai maybe too, because the people in Chennai still speak a language called Tamil, which is also pronounced Tamil, and also pronounced Tamir, and also pronounced Meal. You can say it 4 different ways. And so, the next slide, please, you'll see. This is was a highly classified map. It's a NOAA Space Spy satellite, infrared, showing the location But the original gate of paradise, and it's paradise lost, by the way, is through the valley and the long, long strait down to the longest line. That's where they brought the great ships in, so they could get into port that way. It's passable. That's the original one. Now it got changed to, eventually, now the straits open up to next slide, please. The Malacca Strait, when the volcano went off, and the with that, I hope I didn't go too fast. Sorry about the microphone situation. But if you have any questions, I'd be glad to see if I can answer some of them. And also, we do have some other slides here too that show some other pictures that are very interesting seeing.
Okay. Thank you, Prophet. Thank you, Mr. Hoff, for such an enlightening presentation. I think your dedication to the studies of Professor Alicius Santos is credible, and hopefully you can, in this session, maybe delve further into some basic questions regarding the concept of this book, the basic treatise. You mentioned several times about the methodology. You mentioned the word reverse engineering and so on. Maybe, and the last part you talked about the methodology, but maybe you can sort of sum it up. How did Professor Santos arrive at this grand theory? If you look at it from the methodology side of the equation.
Well, what he did is he looked for a place on Earth where a continent the size that mentioned by Plato could actually fit. And some of these areas, like in Spain or the Mediterranean or the Caribbean, could not fit that area, fit that parameter. So he reverse engineered it back to the place that actually had, at the time, the right climate, the right precipitation, the right soil, the right size, all the different things that support a population of over 20 million people. See, the thing is, these places that are over 20 degrees north latitude would never qualify, or the places below 30 degrees south latitude, because it's in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age. You have to have an area where over 20 million people, probably would be as much as 25 maybe, and though the population of the Earth might have been as much as 30 million. You lose 20 million people in a day and a night. It's the largest amount of people to ever perish the Earth in a short period of time, and the highest percentage. So it wiped out also a lot of the animals. They lost 70% of the mammals on Earth at the same time. And like I say, the Pleistocene Ice Age, the whole thing, ended, and the Younger Dryas period, because we're now in the Holocene phase. So I hope that answers some of your question. Maybe.
Before we launch into the question and answer, I'm sure our friends here have a lot of questions for you. Just one more thing. There are quite a number of theories regarding the origin of Atlantis. I think there are competing theories and so on. So as a publisher, why is it that you chose what Professor Santos had to propose as an idea that you believe in?
Well, I mean, I hadn't seen any other information as detailed as he had. In our book, at least the English version, probably also the one here in Bahasa, Indonesia, he put in endnotes. He explained more detail in a lot of places. He did this from a scientific standpoint. Now,
point is basically that in order to find the pin, you have to find the right haystack first. Where
Right
the pin is.
haystack, that's it.
That's a very revealing method. Thank you so much for the initial presentation. Yes, please, if you want something to.
So this looks like, this is a vertical gate going in that's still standing there. It's not something they set up, it's just, that's the way it's been. And it's dug right into the ground. And so it's, you don't, this doesn't happen naturally. And by the way, the stones are in the ground, if you go, they go in one direction on the top surface. If you go down about a meter or two, let's say maybe 2 meters, they go in the opposite direction. Now that doesn't just fall there naturally, that has to be done artificially. Somebody had to do that. And there's like a million of these stones up in Gunung, and they weigh quite a bit. Again, they're musical. Next slide, please. This shows my foot along with the stone at a right angle. This is an island. And these are very unusual. You don't see these every day. Next slide, please. Look at that. Have you seen one of those in the last 5 to 10 years or anything? No. Not unless it's come through me or something. Next slide, please. Now these are some of the weapons too that are using. Now what's very interesting is some of these Atlantis actually were very tall. Some of the giants. And this weapon at the bottom of the screen, I believe it is, weighs quite a bit. It weighs something close to, I think it was 14, no, what is it? I think it was around 10 kilograms, something like that. And yeah, it was in pounds, it weighs about almost 29 pounds. So somebody that could wield that kind of weapon versus in the medieval times was only around 5 pounds or so, maybe around 3 kilograms at the most. Had to be a person that weighed maybe 1,000 pounds and was maybe 12 feet high and could really do it, because you can imagine lifting up a weight like a dumbbell, like from the gym, at 30 weight, and be able to pull that and chop somebody's head off or whatever they do with it in their battles or, you know, the wars and things. So next slide, please. These are little figurines that we have too. Actually, some of them, they have actually a pyramid on the bottom of them. I'm not sure if I got a photo of that. Next slide, please. The reason I'm showing these pictures, I wanted to show you one of the giant elephants that got reconstructed. These are called a stegodon. They're bigger than actually an African elephant or an Indian elephant. They use in wars and battles in Indonesia. Indonesia is very, Atlantis has been very famous for that. Next slide, please. This is again the cross of Atlantis. Next slide, please. Is that the last one? I think it is. Or maybe there's one more. And there's more stones in Gunung Padang. This is myself in 2013 at the World Cultural Forum, sitting next to Danny Hillman, giving a presentation there. By the way, the Brazilian ambassador to Indonesia was in the audience and read our book and picked it up in Singapore. So he's very pleased to see you there. Go ahead, next slide, please. This is given at a conference in Bandung, where Danny Hillman and other researchers and officials were there as I was giving a presentation. Next slide, please. This is a picture of Gunung Padang. Next slide. Another picture of it. Go to the next one. We've seen some of these before. Next one. Oh, this is the weapon. The weight of it. Actually it shows over 10 kilograms. That's 10 kilograms on that. And so it was very heavy. Open. Next slide, please. And then also it shows a little close-up of it. You can see it's kind of ancient stone, and the particular makeup is very. We have to analyze this a lot more about what the composition of it is. Next slide, please. This is the one of the ones with the pyramid on the side of the figurines here that we discovered. Next slide, please. And this is Bob, who's sitting in the audience with this. He can verify that that weapon was like around 10 plus kilograms. And he had trouble lifting it up. That's why he has both hands. Because he he's not 10 feet tall or 12 feet tall. He doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds. So, next slide, please. Again, this is the one he was wearing. Actually, this one here was closer to, I think, closer to 14 kilograms. So it weighed a lot. Next one. It's Professor Sanso's picture. I think we're at the end here. Next slide. This here is showing possible location of the lost city, the capital city of Atlantis. The only problem is that it's covered a lot of coral and I'm not going to get to this, so there's a possibility this could be the capital city. We're not sure of that exactly. Next slide, please. I think that may be the one, last one. Okay, that's it. Is there any more questions?
A warm round of applause for this entirely comprehensive presentation. Dan begini teman-teman, ini memang sajiannya itu lebih sebagai kuliah umum dulu ya, karena ini materinya ini bukan materi yang biasa dihadapi oleh rekan-rekan media dalam kondisi keseharian. Ini dasar teorinya cukup banyak hal-hal yang mungkin dibaca sebagai masih spekulatif, tapi tetap kita mengacu kepada dasar-dasar metodologis yang ada pada beliau.
Go back to the first slide. Rewind the whole thing. I'm going to show our website.
Oh, okay.
Because the reason I want to mention this is that we, on our website, which is Atlantis at atlant.org or atlantispublications.com, I'll bring it up at the top here, is that we have our website will translate into 104 languages. So if you want it in Swahili, it's in Swahili. If you want it in Arabic, it's in Arabic. If you want it in Hebrew, it's in Hebrew. If you want it in French, Spanish, Italian, it's in all those languages. Again, with the very first slide. Yeah, most websites, atlant.org and atlantispublications.com, both go to the same place. The very first slide. Back, you want going back to the very first one. More. Right? Again, this is Professor Sanso's gift to the world. So go ahead with any questions you have.
Yes. Okay, I was just explaining the background to your elaboration. So, jadi pada saat sekarang waktunya ya untuk memberi, kalau ada pertanyaan juga, tapi juga karena ini membuka pintu kepada banyak hal baru. Jadi mungkin ada juga pandangan-pandangan atau yang perspektif opini lah, monggo dipersilakan kepada audiens sebagian besar teman-teman media, tapi juga ada yang berasal dari kalangan akademisi dan sebagainya. Kami persilakan, ini mungkin bisa beberapa atau ada yang punya pandangan. Saya lihat ada. Oke, monggo Ibu Hilda Sabri, she's a senior journalist from the business publication.
Could everybody hear me okay before? I know the microphone is too low, so I hope everybody heard what it's saying.
Apa ini?
Hello, I'm Hilda. I'm very shocked because in Indonesia now we are facing that Borobudur is not Buddhist temple, but it is from Prophet Sulaiman. And then now Atlantis. I'm beginning from your explain earlier that come from Greek word okeanos, whose meaning and origin in Greek it is Sanskrit word asayana, meaning to revolve. The Atlantic Ocean is meaning to revolve under the sea. Under the sea. How do you from because this is now you have a book. How do you stay through this book that this is real? And the claim that Sunda land is the lost Atlantis has not been scientifically proven. I read from thetik.com long ago.
Well, Hilda, I think I have your
Sorry.
question. I think I have your question. You know,
Yeah.
the problem with Atlantis is wrong ocean, called the Atlantic Ocean. They changed it over to the English Ocean or something else like that. That might have fixed the problem as well as naming the one in the Indian Ocean called the Atlantean Ocean or Atlantic Ocean. And so this has put everything in reverse, and that's why everybody's been in reverse, looking in the wrong locations. So again, it's not in the Mediterranean. It's not in these places like Cyprus or Spain, which is about 30 degrees north latitude. You can't support a population in those places or in like Antarctica because the core samples were taken in situ for shows the ice has been there for 1 million to 2 million years, and so these places it is very improbable. And Professor Santos goes through quite a few of them in the book and explains why this camp exists in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age. And so I think maybe hopefully that's the answer to your question there about, you know, if you're looking in the wrong area of ocean, you're never going to find it. Excuse me?
The wrong haystack.
The wrong haystack, you know, in this case, the wrong oceans, you know. Again, the word is antipode. It means antipodes. It means you're looking at, it's on the opposite side of the world, the foot soles. If you're looking on the other side, like I'm coming to Seattle, from you guys, your foot soles are pointing towards me and mine are pointing towards you. And again, it's located on the opposite side of the world on a sunken mountain marshland. And that's in Indonesia and the surrounding areas of Southeast Asia. Next question, please.
The key concept is opposite side of the world, yeah. Not just opposite of the island, opposite side of the world.
Well, opposite side of the world from, let's say, Europe.
Yes. But look, please. Sama ditambah yang lain juga dong, Pak.
So the question is, was there a civilizations when the land which currently become Java Sea, right? That was about 11,000 years ago. The question is actually the fundamental question is: was there a civilization during the Sunda land period when there was Java Sea was about 160 meters, no, the level of water, right? So that is the question actually. So whether that we call that Atlantis or call it Sundalandia, you know, over here I call it Sundalandia, right? But the question is, was there a civilizations? Was there human, right? Now we have to break down what we call humans, right? Because if we look at the news recently, right, there was a story about that there was some skull and artifacts that was found in Madura, if you read about 2-3 months ago, because of the dredging of the Madura Strait, right? But the skull was not belong to Homo sapien. So we have to understand this civilization is modern civilization. So it is the Homo sapien civilizations, not a Homo erectus or not a Neanderthal civilizations, right? Now the skull that was found in Madura is actually not Homo sapien, but it was dated about 20,000 years ago, right? But was there Homo sapien, right? I mean, that's actually first we have to answer, right? If there's a civilization, then where is the skull, right? That's first fundamental questions, right? Now, if you Google, we haven't found any Homo sapien skull that dated 12,000 years ago in Java, except one skull which is now in Netherlands, which is dated about 28,000 years ago. That is Homo sapien, right? So we have evidence that there was human being, modern human, which Homo sapien, right? Which exactly right now, that was living here, right? So where is the rest of the skull, right? If there was this big civilization that Plato wrote in the book that 20 million people, right? Where is the skull of these 20 million people? Where is their grave, right? But what we forget is that these 20 million people was living what currently become the Java Sea, right? So unfortunately, if this exists, it is buried under the mud in the Java Sea. That's one. But at least we have an evidence of a skull that's still in Holland, in the Netherlands, in which I think, Bu Raida, we have to expatriate that skull, because that skull is very important, which is called the Wajak skull. There's Wajak 1 and Wajak 2, which the only evidence of a prehistoric Homo sapien in Java. So I don't know why, for some reason, that skull, it should be expatriated to Indonesia, that two skull, right? Because it's belong to Indonesia. So that possibly could be one of the Atlantean, right? Could be one of the Atlantean. We have evidence of human being, modern human being, not Homo erectus. So we have, number one, to differentiate between the Homo erectus, which is still not erect, still like this, which cannot be considered human. Homo erectus is not human, it's called pro-humanoid, right? Proto-humanoid, not yet human, right? So the only human being skull exists is the Wajak one. The second is that we have the work of Professor Stephen Oppenheimer, right, which traces, right, the migrations from Africa. There are 7 migrations, right, traces a migration of human being by DNA from Africa all the way, the first one until Australia, right? So the DNA is there, right? And according to him, in order to go to Africa, it has to go past the Sundaland, right? It has to go past this. But again, where is the civilization, right? Well, it's under the sea, right? So there is no direct, if you asking direct evidence, right? But there is a lot of indirect evidence. For example, Frank mentioned about Gunung Padang. So Gunung Padang is dated about 20,000 years, something, right? So it is controversial because it is debated whether it's man-made or not man-made, right? But you have to go there to convince yourself there is no way that nature suddenly pile up basalt column like that. Right? There's no way like it happened by itself without. So if you go there, I've been there several times, so you can see that it has to be done by human. Then the evidence says it's 20,000 years. But unfortunately, again, we did not found any artifacts or skull or remainings. But the questions, who in the hell built it? Who in the hell built it? The jinn? Who built it? Right? I mean, this is the fundamental question. I think that in Gunung Padang, that nobody asked, who built Gunung Padang? Right? If we agree that Gunung Padang is man-made, so where is the man? Right? Where is the people that built Gunung Padang? But if you ask any geologist, right? Forget about it is man-made or not. There is no basalt column there. So the basalt column was actually quarried some kilometers away, maybe 20, 30 kilometers from that location. So who carried the basalt column? Usually, sometimes basalt column come from the top, from the bottom, and stack itself. That's nature, right? But usually it's come from underneath, right? So and then stack there. But there is no basalt source there. So based on that indirect evidence, I'm quite certain that Atlantis is in Indonesia. So this civilization, whatever that was building Gunung Padang, right? That was maybe the skull of Wajak one, right? Those were the evidence of Atlantis. So now, not yet, but there are a certain group of people, one of them is myself, that we are looking for that evidence. Thank you very much.